like that, old man? You want a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Happy Sunday. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Welcome to episode 298 and welcome to Apocalypse Now. You're listening to a new episode of the Cine-Men movie podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Juan, and I am joined by the cast, the crew, the guys. Jay?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Zach?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Ed?
Hey, what's up, folks? How y'all doing?
What's up, guys? How's the Memorial Day weekend treating you guys?
Hey.
Good.
Good.
It's just another weekend for me.
Another weekend. Same here. It's not usually with Memorial Day weekend, some people have like a little extensive weekend. Today is just a weekend for me. But I think we're here to talk about some movies. It is our 6th consecutive war movie conversation today, and today we are talking about Apocalypse Now. So it should be a pretty fun episode, and a busy start to the month of June for us here at the podcast. Next week we celebrate the 20th anniversary of 50 First Dates. Hard to believe that's
Has it really been 20 years on that already?
Yeah, hard to believe that movie's turning 25.
Or 20 or 25? Which is it?
20, my bad.
20.
Oh, okay.
And then the week after that, guys, we are going to the theater. We're talking 300 live at Rodeo Cinema. We'll be discussing 300 either on the day of the screening or the next day following. But either way, come hang out with us. Live at Rodeo Cinema, 2221 Exchange Avenue. We will be in the Stockyard City location right there next to Cattleman's right here in Oklahoma City. So come check us out live at Rodeo Cinema. We'll have giveaways. You can come hang out and have some conversations with us as well. So should be fun. Zach, how's your weekend? You're probably the only one out of all of us that have an extensive weekend. So how's it been for you?
Yeah, I get tomorrow off. It's been laid back. I'm not gonna lie. Just did some housework, cleaned out a room, and watched Apocalypse Now, pretty much. So
You've been doing mostly what I've been doing.
You guys can also check us out on the social media links, facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram, which we are live now on Instagram, you can check us out, is all one word, the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The X is at Cinemen405, or you can email us, which is CINEMEN921 at gmail.com. So, yeah, let's get into some recent watches. Anybody have anything they want to recommend? Zach, we can start with you.
to be honest, watched Apocalypse Now. Watch the documentary about the making of the movie Hearts of Darkness, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, and watched and finished up season 2 of Justified. So that was pretty much my recent watches. I'm going to see Furiosa tomorrow, so I'll have a review about that next week. So, what about you guys?
Ed, what about you? You check anything out?
I tried to check out just one movie is all I really had time for. But we didn't get into it. My wife and I tried to check out Night Swim.
It's not very good, no.
After I don't remember anything after the girl pulled her sailboat from the pool. I thought we watched like a half hour or so. Apparently we watched like 10 minutes, if that.
Damn,
Yeah.
That should tell you how good that movie is.
Yeah. Just neither one of us got into it, man. I didn't really want to get into it much, to be fully honest, and I've got a reason for it. If any of you remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? Back in the 90s, and I think they did Okay, so that has an episode that revolved around a pool monster, and it was a gelatinous goop kind of monster, and I think that's what this has an inspiration from, because the monsters look damn similar to each
So
other.
we just got an Afraid of the Dark episode as a movie.
Pretty much, I think. Like I said, I only seen like maybe 10 minutes tops, so I can't truly be like, yeah. But yeah, that's what I got for you right there, man. I know that sucks as, you know, a watch list this week, but honestly, Red Dead 2 came back onto the PlayStation Network, and I've restarted it. So
along with Apocalypse Now, so it should be a fun episode. I'll go through mine real quick. I didn't get a lot in.
30 movies.
I checked out Low Lifes, which you guys can hear us talk about on this past week's episode of Friday the 14th podcast. Mean Girls 2024. It was kind of trash. I don't like that they turned it into one big musical. Apocalypse Now for today. I checked out the anniversary 4K edition for Killer Clowns. Very good transfer. Highly recommend it. And then my watch of the week, honestly, is The Book of Clarence. A very highly entertaining satire, a biblical story, but it was super entertaining. I enjoyed it from start to finish, and it's up there with Dune Part 2 for me as far as one of my favorites of the year. So,
did you watch the 4K Crow edition as well?
I did. I checked that out a few weeks ago. We'll talk about
How's the
that.
transfer to that?
Not as good as Killer Clowns, honestly. Scream Factory is killing it with these transfers. The Crow, it's crisp, but it still has that darky edginess feel. I just feel like it's an upscale version of the regular Blu-ray. So,
Gotcha. I thought the Blu-ray looked beautiful.
But highly recommend Book of Clarence. I believe it's also streaming on Netflix, so go check it out. Jay, what about you?
I watched all 14 episodes of Young Sheldon season 7. That was the final season. The dad finally dies. You find out because Sheldon sits there and remembers that his dad cheated on his mom, so that's why he knocks 3 times when he knocks on people's doors. But it wasn't another woman. It was his mom dressed up as Helga from Germany because they had to go to Germany. So he actually caught his mom and dad having sex. So that was funny. George died, and then the final episode was Sheldon writing his memoirs. The entire series was him writing his own memoirs. And you go into the future and you see older Sheldon and his wife, and they talk about how they have a son named Leonard that plays hockey and shit like that. It was really good.
That plays hockey.
He plays hockey.
No shit. That's a turnaround.
And then I sat there and watched about an hour and 15 minutes of the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And believe it or not, I got bored with it. I don't know why. I just couldn't get into it. It was one of those. It's all apes all the time, but I just could not get into it. It's like I was lost in a way. But then I watched Abigail. Anybody heard of Abigail?
I heard that was really good.
Dude, that was amazing.
You talked about the vampire girl. So
yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of twists and turns in that movie that you don't see coming. Don't watch the trailer if you don't want to be spoiled. Please don't watch that.
Oh, for real? Like, okay.
For real. It pretty much tells you the whole movie. The one big twist for the movie that the little girl's a vampire should have never been put in the trailer, but they did anyways. But they needed something to bring people in.
It's already streaming too. It's already left theaters.
Yeah. So is Fall Guy.
Yeah. Speaking of theaters, we guys can talk about some trailers that hit. Jay, you want to talk about the Beetlejuice trailer and the new Beverly Hills Cop 4 trailer came out this week.
Beverly Hills Cop 4 trailer looked like a generic action movie. It didn't feel the same as the other 3. I'll find out July 3rd what it's like. But it didn't fill me with hope and promise that I wanted to see the new Axel Foley movie. But Beetlejuice, on the other hand, they give you, this is an actual story trailer where they tell you the dad dies, so they're all in town for a funeral, and the little girl, the daughter, is the one that brings Beetlejuice back because she's pissed at her mom.
Because yeah, why not? Because they can't put Jeffrey Jones back in the movie anyway. So
no, he got in trouble for child pornography. So yeah,
Yep.
he's fucked.
Which is a good way to kill him off the movie.
But they still haven't explained the Maitland yet. Because remember in the original Beetlejuice that you had to spend 100 years haunting the house that you died in, and they haven't explained that yet.
They're both of them are supposed to return to the movie, though, right?
I have not heard if Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis are going to be in it or not.
Because I haven't seen the trailer yet, so I'm glad you brought it up. But is the house in the trailer?
Yes, the house is still in the trailer. It has like black drapes all over it, you know how Lydia wore drapes over her face, and stuff. The whole house is covered in drape. Like the outside of the house is covered in black drapes.
So then, I mean, they have to have some kind of sneak peek cameo appearance if the house is still involved in the movie.
Well, there's this one scene. You remember in the original movie where they drew that door on the wall and they knocked on it and the door opened and they went to the other side? Well, Beetlejuice draws a fucking small bomb on the wall and his finger turns into a match and he lights the bomb on the wall.
That's funny.
And it blows up.
It doesn't have them on the cast list, at least on Google. So there's that. Neither one of them.
And then there was
they can still be uncredited on there.
Yeah.
There was a new PSA that debuted in theaters this week. I'm not sure if it's just shown in rated R movies or not, but it's Deadpool and Wolverine telling you to turn your fucking phones off. Seriously, they tell you turn your fucking phones off. And Wolverine gets all pissed off at you, and then Deadpool tries to calm him down. So
that could be our first $1 billion movie of the year.
I see it happening. They've already sold 280,000 tickets for the movie.
Damn.
So yeah, that's our recent watches. Episode 300 we'll have more trailer talks and we'll debut another segment. But for now, guys, let's not forget June 8th, 7 p.m. Don't forget, come down to the movie theater, come hang out with us. Stockyard City location, 2221 Exchange Avenue, right here in Oklahoma City. June 8th, 7 p.m. We're talking our 300th episode, and we're going to have some giveaways, so come hang out with us. But today we're talking about our 6th annual Memorial Day War episode. We talk a war movie and just have a conversation about the movie we're talking about. We started with Saving Private Ryan, episode 38, Hacksaw Ridge, episode 90, Inglourious Bastards, episode 143, Glory, episode 194, and then last year we talked All Quiet on the Western Front. So this is legit like our 6th war movie conversation on Memorial Day weekend. So should be fun. Let's get into it. A U.S. Army officer serving in Vietnam is tasked with assassinating a renegade Special Forces colonel who sees himself as a god. Starring Martin Sheen, Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Bottoms, Harrison Ford, Dennis Hopper, and directed by Francis Ford Coppola. So let's get into it. We'll start with you, Zach. Have you seen this movie before? And what was it like in a few short words when the movie was over? Getting ready to talk about the podcast.
Yeah, I think the first time I actually saw this was actually when the deluxe 4K edition, the one that's right behind you, came out. I think 2018, 2019, something like that. I heard, this is considered one of the best war movies of all time. It's at least for a lot of people, this is the quintessential Vietnam War movie. I remember liking it the first time. I was just like, okay, I kind of get why people like this. The second time around for this rewatch, I've only seen this twice in its entirety. I really, really liked it. I don't know what it was the second time around. I just enjoyed, I guess, the trip into hell, essentially. We can get into it as we go, but I like this movie a lot more on the second time watch. So,
Ed, is this your first time watching it? If not, what was it like for the few short words?
First time.
He's leaving it at that. First time. Jay, what about you?
I've seen the opening part where Martin Sheen's flipping out in that hotel room, and they come and they pick him up and everything, and they make him go to the meet up with the officers. I seen that part. I never finished it because I got kind of bored with it, but I seen it all this time, and we'll get more into it.
I've seen this only like 3 times, and
did we all watch the theatrical cut?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my 3rd time seeing it, and in its entirety, back-to-back weekends. I watched it last week and then this week as well. And I think I sit there with Zach. Like, I can really see the second time I kind of just like really soaked myself into this war movie. I think the thing I appreciated about the most is its honesty. So
yeah,
we can kind of get into it. If you guys have not seen it, go check it out. It's a pretty lengthy movie, depending on which version you watch. But
this one's 2 hours and 27 minutes.
You can stream it on Prime Video, Amazon. It's not on any kind of streaming website or services. But this is one of those movies where you can almost honestly find a copy, whether it's like Walmart, Target, pretty cheap. So go check it out. Apocalypse Now, man. Yeah, this is just, like I said, I think I appreciate it most for its honesty, as how and this movie just got made like literally a few years right after the war concluded. So it's almost like, man, how long has this script been going on? Was it something he wrote maybe while the war was actually going on? So in a lot of war movies, you actually get based off true story events. And I think that one of the things I like about this the most is it is a side story kind of that like is used with real events happening around it.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like a Forrest Gump movie. Like that movie is not based on actual event or a real life person like Forrest Gump, but it is based with real events happening around him.
I can see what you're saying. There were the whole backdrop of the movie is the Vietnam War, but the main plot line is them cruising down that river to get to, like Zach said, hell. The trip through hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say this. Go ahead, Zach.
No, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and say this. I'm like Zach with Friday. I get it. I understand what the movie was trying to say. I get the way that Martin Sheen's character is supposed to be portrayed and everything. I just found it kind of dull and boring. I don't know why.
It is one of those movies that definitely has pacing issues if you're not, I don't even know how to put that. Like, I can see where a lot of people would have pacing issues with this movie because it's just a stroll to get to where they need to get. And then you're passing through events that are happening throughout the movie. And it's one of those, it's like, it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I mean, IMDb has it perfectly. Like right now it's listed as 8.4 on IMDb, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, 94% is the Metascore, and then on Letterboxd it's 4.4. It had a $31 million budget and it grossed a little over $105 million at the box office. And then the theatrical release is August 15th, 1979. So yeah, this movie came out literally just months after the actual Vietnam War stopped. Why do you guys think that maybe a war movie like this is completely different from, maybe one of the more popular ones that it came out? Because this one seems popular. Like I feel like everybody's heard about this movie, but it's different from maybe everything else everybody's seen, if that makes sense.
I think a little bit more realism was put into this one. I mean, with the guy that's on the ground with his guts or intestines, whatever you want to call it, kind of like out. Apparently, that was taken from a real life happening, as well as the line, "Any bastard who has his guts out or whatever can take a drink of from my canteen," or whatever the line is. That's a real line.
Supposedly.
That's a documented line from like a few different individuals. On top of that, there were supposed to be dead bodies, truthful dead bodies. I'm glad they've gone away from that, but hanging, where when they had the bodies hanging down. Anyways, there was supposed to be
like Kurtz's camp out type thing in Cambodia, like that. Those scenes, yeah.
So you're saying they wanted to use real bodies on set?
They were going to, yes. But in the Philippines, apparently it's illegal, so can't. Which, thank God for that, at least, because I get realism, but there's a line.
No, I mean they wanted to they just really wanted to win for best set.
Yeah.
I'll sit there and say this. Like I said, I had problems with pacing issues, and I kind of found it boring. But the movie looked spectacular. It didn't look like it was filmed in '79. It looked like it could have been filmed today. The cinematography was beautiful. The helicopters flying in the background with the sun shining and everything. You know, the different looks of the film. You know, because when he gets to Marlon Brando, the film has a different tone and look to it. You know, and everything. Like him peeking out of the water on the case there. That's all in reds and stuff. You know, that looked pretty cool. Like I said, the movie looked cool.
Yeah, the cleanup transfer was amazing. It did look like it could have been shot today. Speaking of, okay, I know this is jumping towards the close to the end, but we're having a conversation about the movie anyway. Do you guys think they killed an actual cow on set? That thing looked real to me.
Yes.
I don't know about you guys.
Dude,
it looked real.
Well,
go ahead.
That is a real water buffalo, but I highly recommend you guys watch the Hearts of Darkness documentary.
Yep.
Eleanor Coppola, who actually just passed away like a month or two ago, his wife actually filmed a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff. And that tribe, that was just a ritual that she caught filming stuff. And she said, "Hey, Francis, you got to check this out." And that's how they made it into the movie. Like Coppola didn't like insist on like any animals being hurt or nothing. That was just something that was like a natural ritual that those tribes people did, and it made it into the movie essentially.
So that was a real water buffalo getting
yes,
yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh, you could tell. I could tell instantly that was no prosthetic effect. That they used a real that because I've seen rituals done like that on video where they cut a cow's head off or something like that for a ritual or a pig, and yeah.
Well, good for them. You know that sets a tone. Like now, at least he doesn't get any flack for the head being in the bed in The Godfather. So
right,
that was a ritual too.
I think all of us have done that ritual actually. So
yeah, but you know what? I think movies like that. I don't know if that could be done today, but like B, like why not? Like he's doing what he's doing is considered like film or art. Like if he's wanting to film a ritual being done in the Philippines and he wants to put it in his movie, like go for it.
So I think the answer to your question right there, why not, is because that transcends just from why not have a snake eat a mouse in the movie goes to why not kill a human in the movie, kind of thing. Like, yes, it's something that seems small, but it leads to so much bigger of a thing. To where
we live in a politically correct world, but that's a whole other conversation. So,
but that's not dealing with political correctness. That's more dealing with morale or moral dilemmas.
I could see if he was filming that like on the Warner Brothers lot, and then he brought in Philippines and a water buffalo to do a ritual on the Warner Brothers lot. Like, yeah, that's probably crossing the lines. But if he's in their boundaries, in their home setting, and he just happens to film their situation, like, what's wrong with that?
Then
I don't have no problem with that.
the reason being for that is because they're crossing that boundary to where, okay, he's shown that, so maybe we can show someone actually getting hung. Maybe we can show someone actually taking a sword and taking their own life, or maybe we can show someone actually getting shot. You know, it transcends that border right there. And I mean, yes, it was just oh, hey, check this shit out. This is crazy to, you know, hey, let's get 5 cattle. We've got 5 different ways. And I mean, I understand, you know, like we eat meat, we eat, you know, a lot.
I think there's a difference between like an animal getting it in its natural habitat compared to a human actually getting hung. I think that's
not
different.
really. Not
Well,
really.
Not really.
Anyway,
if you remember Poltergeist, the whole swimming pool scene, real skeletons, real dead bodies.
Yep.
So it's not unheard of for them to use real dead bodies in movies.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's unheard of, but it's a moral dilemma right there. I mean, in all honesty, it's a moral dilemma, and desensitization is a real thing, which this film talks about, and I mean, honestly, is part of it is desensitization, to where you may feel one way about something, but I can look at it and be like, don't care. Because
one thing I liked about I'll give you one thing I did like about the movie was Martin Sheen. How at the beginning he sat there and said that when he was home he couldn't wait to go back, and when he was there he couldn't wait to be home. But the only time he ever talked to his wife was when he said yes to a divorce. It's like, and you could tell he's a damaged man. You know that he's going through post-traumatic stress syndrome, and he's now has this new mission. And I like that because war movies before them didn't talk about the trauma of war when you came home, except Born on the 4th of July. But you didn't have the PTSD, man. So
yeah, but a lot of movies, a lot of war movies have done that since, like The Hurt Locker, American Sniper, you know, stuff like that, where it's just like, you know, they don't know how to conform back into society once they're back from war, essentially.
But it's crazy that there's been so many war movies before this one, but like this one is just the one 1979 that like just pushed the boundaries and like pushed the door down about like, no, let's talk about this kind of stuff, because when these guys come home or when these guys, you know, are off waiting to go back, they're fucked up like mentally, you know. This is what's going on.
Well, and the reason this didn't win Best Picture is because The Deer Hunter was like the year before. So it's like, you know,
same thing
it's
too.
It's dealing with the same thing.
Yeah, but like The Deer Hunter 2 also didn't touch kind of on what this movie could have done or what this movie did do.
Well, not only did Martin Sheen's character have PTSD, but so did Marlon Brando's character. He just had in his mind the truth of the matter. Like I'll agree with him. There was some very truthful stuff that he said, that, you know, that the way war is and the way things are, and that they worship me because of this reason, and And whenever he was waiting to die too.
A lot of this is dealing with Vietnam. You know, this is dealing with Vietnam. A lot of this is dealing with differences in that conflict. With the PTSD as well as coming home, you have to understand back then they were not like, oh, thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for your service, man. I appreciate it. They weren't like that. They came
baby killer.
Go back. You know, they came home to a lot of ridicule, a ton of ridicule. So, I mean, with that, it's partially, I think, helping to portray that in a little bit of a way, and done as soon as like it is still harboring on that. You know, because I mean, my grandpa, he's a Vietnam veteran. You know, go from there. I you know, there's a lot of them out there still, and you know, today, you know, especially Memorial Day, you know, it's a crazy thing on remembering what war leads to, what war is,
the sad part is that we don't know what. This generation really don't know what Memorial Day means anymore because we've not had a great war. And that's sad.
I mean, we've had, you know, Desert Storm 2 technically, but you know, or the war on terrorism as they like to call it. So that we've had that, but it's a different society. It really, really, really is a different society. I mean, it's crazy on the differences in how we view soldiers today, whether Marines, Navy, Air Force, or Army, or Coast Guard, or I guess even Space Force now. But yeah.
Well, here's the thing. This is not a new thematic theme, and the idea of like soldiers not talking about it. You go back all the way to like World War One. The reason we don't have a lot of World War One stories is that when everyone came home, they didn't want to talk about it, or people didn't want to hear about it. World War II was different in the way that we were trying to stop literally evil from spreading all over the world. Now,
and
when
what
you get to
helped with
Vietnam,
World War II is we had tons of footage too of World War II.
Yes, yeah. World War One, we had a lot of black and white, barely visible images, or video or images or whatever. Vietnam, there's a great documentary series, the Vietnam War by Ken Burns. It's a 10-hour documentary. We had no business. That was literally the French and the Vietnamese, essentially, how that got started. We got dragged into that. But that's a whole nother conversation, but we shouldn't have been over there.
But no, it rings with the movie. We shouldn't have been over there. We got our asses handed to us because we thought we were a superpower, and we thought we couldn't. And that's the way the Vietnam War was, and that's how a lot of these guys in this movie act. We're Americans, Like Robert Duvall's character, he's an American. If you notice, there's bombs and shit going off around him and everything. He ain't even batting an eye. He's just like, "Fuck yeah, what up?" And
if you look at that one iconic line, that scene right there, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. That goes and transcends, not really transcends, but that shows the differences of his mindset. His mindset is, and he goes back and is like, oh, back here, back then, blah, blah, blah. It's a smell of victory for me. There's no other smell like it. I love the smell of napalm in the morning, blah, 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 blah. And then, I don't know if that was just a round going from a helicopter or a plane or something like that, or if it was like a small mortar shell or something, but something hits 8 to 10 feet, maybe 12 behind them, tops 12 feet behind them. And I mean, you've got the other guys flinching their asses off, and they're wearing, what looks like full battle rattle. And you see him, and he's got a shirt off. He's got that badass Stetson with those cross sabers and green, his green GI pants and his boots. And he's like, someone might as well have sneezed 5 feet away. Literally,
not only is he not fazed by the carnage just going on around him, he's telling his platoon, "Get your asses out there and surf those waves."
Yeah, because he hands him, just hands him that thing with the first cav unit on it, patch on it, and it's just like, yeah, go ahead and go out there, man. We want to see what you do. Like this dude, because don't get me wrong. So I went through basic training in the Army. Okay, I got injured. That's a whole story. Anyways, I was in with a couple of guys. Probably all of them, except for maybe 2, might see this. But one of them, I won't say his name, but let's call him Jay. Jay gone from holding prayer meetings and Bible time in the laundry room. Literally, this is true. You can ask anyone that was in that brigade, in that Delta troop, and all that. You can ask anybody in there. First platoon. He went from going from holding prayer sessions and Bible groups in the laundry room to going, I'm ready to fucking kill. I want to kill somebody. Everybody was like, dude, we're not even out of basics, bro. Chill out, man. It's cool. If you want war, maybe it'll come around. I don't know, but chill. So, I mean, within, and basic training is only 2.5 months, dude. It's 2.5 months. That's all it is. But, you go through a lot. Don't get me wrong. Been there, done that. You go through a lot. But you don't go through war. You don't go through, as they call it, the sandbox or downrange, for that matter, as they called it to us. you just go through the training, and yeah, it's hard. I'm not saying it's not. Like, I respect anybody who can fucking do it. Been there, done that. It was hard on me, 100%. It sucked. But, to go from that extreme of, hey, guys, prayer group in this, to I want to fucking kill when you ain't done shit. Like, you aren't trained. They literally told us in basics, congratulations, you can get your ass kicked at a bar now. And it was just like, really? Ass kicked at a bar? We can't kick ass at a bar? No? Okay. Well, fuck me.
Well, what makes this movie to me is a very personal journey through a mind's mental degradation, if you ask me. Two men's actual mental degradations, because you got the one that's going to go kill him, and you got the one that's already lost his fucking mind. But war movie, if you pay attention to war movies now, like, I just watched Civil War. Johnny said that was a real good movie, and it was. But wars nowadays would not be fought the way they were in the Vietnam days, or even the World War II days. We drone a motherfucker before we do anything. It's a video game now.
Yeah, because I mean, back
I
then,
agree with that. That kind of makes me wonder. Like, out of the 8 awards this got nominated for, out of 8, that's a lot. It only won 2.
What did it win for?
It won for best cinematography, rightfully so, and best sound, rightfully so. It also got nominated for best picture, best supporting actor with Robert Duvall, best director, best writing, best art direction set, best film editing. And like Zach said, yeah, The Deer Hunter did come out the year before, but like this is probably also one of those movies where it probably rubbed certain people the wrong way. And I think that it was more of a political stance on why this movie did not win certain awards.
Probably.
But if you sit there, the movie doesn't really have a political stance. If you sit there and pay attention, the movie does not have a political stance on what it's just showing a guy going up the river. There's no political shit to it.
Yeah, but you also have to remember, like you said, this movie came out like a couple years after the Vietnam War ended, and people didn't want to see that. They don't want to be reminded about this.
That was just a hyper simplification right there, Jay. Hyper simplification. This is just a dude going up the river. That's fucking lovely. Oh, that's awesome. Like, no, that's kudos on that. I love the hyper simplification. Like,
I mean, that's true though. It's kind of no different than like when with like Lord of the Rings, you just got a bunch of people going through a forest looking for a ring,
trying to burn a ring in a mountain. Really, yeah. No, that's hyper simplification. I love it. Oh,
and it's like, agree. The two that it won for was like obvious. Those are obvious choices, but like,
oh yeah.
Do you know what it lost the best picture to?
1979.
Kramer.
Yeah.
Kramer versus. I've never seen that. I know it's Dustin Hoffman.
Neither have I.
Now, I will say, if you're putting it up against Kramer versus Kramer, I can see why it lost. The dialogue, Dustin Hoffman, Kramer versus Kramer is pretty good, and it doesn't drag 3 hours almost. So, but this is definitely a movie that it feels like the Oscars would have picked over Kramer versus Kramer. So that's why I'm like, why? It's Francis Ford Coppola, it's Marlon Brando.
Well,
on paper, this feels like it should have won.
Here's the thing: something else you have to remember is that when Coppola made this movie, he just came off The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. It won all those Oscars. It was like he was the hit new director. I think he had another movie called The Conversation, which is like a couple years before this. And so, he could do anything. He literally could do anything. And what you guys may not know is that he wasn't the original director to do this. George Lucas wanted to do this, and he really wanted to go out in the middle of Vietnam to shoot this, and we wouldn't have had Star Wars. So this would have been a very, very different movie.
Could you also just look at that sentence for a minute, and if he decided to go on and do this and shoot this in Vietnam, like could that massive domino effect of there not being Star Wars? Could you imagine that?
That'd be crazy.
Oh, that was crazy.
Where his like entire direction would have went, because we're talking about those directors who grew up together, went to school together, Coppola, Lucas,
De
Spielberg.
Palma.
Yeah,
Not
like
even that.
this would have completely shifted Hollywood.
I was about to say, not only that, but it would have shifted a ton more. Because I mean, you got to think. Look at the impact that Star Wars has had on people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, on all four of us here, for that matter.
And
That's nuts.
and if you kind of take it and look it around, he kind of did still do his war movie. He just did
But
it in space.
George Lucas has always said though that Star Wars is based on the Vietnam War.
Yep.
And the stormtroopers are a little bit of World War II thrown in, but the major conflict and everything, guerrilla warfare and everything, how everything is presented, that's the Vietnam War in his mind. So he did get to make his Apocalypse Now. It was just called Star Wars.
Yeah, especially with Luke and Han getting into a war that they had no business getting into. Technically.
Uh-huh.
Did you guys know?
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, did you guys know that Lawrence Fishburne was like 14 years old when he made this movie? It was his first movie.
Well, not only that,
For
he said in an interview that he lied and said he is 16, and then Francis Ford Coppola looked at some secretary or an intern or something like that and asked her, "Hey, do you think this kid could pass as an 18-year-old?" And she like looked back at him and she was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And he is like, and he said, "I don't know who you are or where you are, but thank God for you." It's like,
well, the reason he cast him is because it was a metaphor and a message of like sending these young kids, like what happened to the off to their deaths in Vietnam. Essentially, you had kids like 14, getting drafted, 14, 16, 17-year-old kids going to fight a war that they had no business fighting. So and ultimately, if you haven't seen this movie, he's the first one to go off the boat. So,
and that's another thing that you can like kind of put together in this movie is like so many of the guys that were playing like the side soldiers throughout the film, and especially on that way to Brando's character, they're just like, man, we're supposed to be here fighting a different kind, but now we're going and chasing off and trying to kill one of our own. Like they just could not comprehend, like, why are we doing this? Like we're getting ourselves killed to go after one of our own.
Well, and in the commentary, I guess you could say, inside Martin Sheen's mind is just like, I've killed thousands of men, but I've never killed an American. And that, that sets up a whole new presence of like, who am I? Is this right? And I do like, a lot of people kind of think that, and Jay, you might have found this boring, but I did like the whole dossier on Kurtz of like how he was like the perfect soldier and then he just went fucking nuts, essentially.
I found the information about him. That's why I'm saying he learned the truth. That you hear about his dossier, everything he's done in the military, every mission he's been on that they let you know about, but then you get this guy that somehow, some way, the truth was revealed to him, and the truth is what set him free and made him go crazy because nobody else seen it.
Well, let's talk about it because, like, you spend literally 2 hours of this movie, you're hyping up the Brando character, who is this Colonel Kurtz, and you see Brando, lurking in the shadows. Is that a good payoff, or were you kind of disappointed, or what do you think about Brando in this?
I thought it was fun. I thought he was fun. I thought it was a very adequate fucking meeting between the two of them because he's just sitting there talking to him quietly. Yeah. He's just there's no shouting, there's no rant and raving. It's just he told him a story. And he basically is like, believe me or not.
And that's the thing. It makes you feel for these two characters who throughout the whole movie you're like, Brando's insane, Kurtz is nuts. Like he deserves to be let go or something like that. But like when you finally get to that ending and the meeting between the two, you're like, what if
they're the same person?
Yeah, but what if like he really did just find out the truth, and now you should point the real fingers at why does the U.S. really want him gone? Like, why do they want him,
I think that's the only political message in the movie was basically the truth that Brando's character found out, how things were going and this and that. I think that's the biggest political message of the whole thing was that Vietnam was a bunch of fucking lies.
Yeah, and it's pointing the fingers at the U.S. like we're in the wrong for putting these people in that situation.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and to me, I thought Martin Sheen's character, he was already tipping on the edge of like, is he already like on Kurtz's level? The scene where they get to the boat and they accidentally like open fire on it and they rescue, like they get the little puppy and they try to save the woman. He just point blank shoots her like, we don't have time for this. Let's go.
And he said, "I don't
To
have time.
me,
We should have never fucking stopped."
yeah. To me, I was just like, okay, like he's on Kurtz's level. It's just he hasn't pulled the trigger, just going like absolutely nuts yet.
But I thought near the end of it, he would actually probably. I thought he would actually take advice from Brando's character and follow him. I actually thought he would follow through with what, but he didn't. He ended up killing him, and no.
Who's to say he still didn't follow and stay there? And now he's like, you know what? I'm so far gone. I can just be God here.
Well, and that's the thing because like I can't remember what I originally thought about the ending, but on this rewatch, the ending is interpreted. For one thing, Coppola had like 50 different endings and they couldn't figure out like a good way to end it. To me, you know, he kills Kurtz and then he's kind of let go. But in my mind, I just kind of thought like, because he's wearing like the facial like war makeup that Brando uses, that's why they let him go. Like, oh, he's just like another god. They couldn't recognize the difference between the two of them. But like but is Coppola's intent on the ending being like, are we all savages in our own way? It's just like, how do we get to that road? Or is it you can get down this road, but there's a way out of it?
You could question that we're all savages. I'll agree with you there. We're all savages. We just have to have that push to get us there. All of us will eventually go back to our animal instincts to survive.
Yeah.
Or if we're put in that situation, which it seems like both of those two men were put in that situation by the man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is that like Kurtz he's built up as this like really like maniacal, crazy son of a bitch. But really, he's just like this theological like person that just like, hey, why are we in this situation? I love the psychology and the theology of this film of like who are we? Why do we do what we do? And this wasn't meant to be. Kurtz is supposed to be like a really main character, but in the behind the scenes, I learned that Brando, he was an asshole on set. Like he didn't want to do this movie. That as well. He gained a whole bunch of weight. He was very self-conscious. And, you know, they keep Kurtz in the shadows most of the time. And I think that's really a technical thing. So Coppola, you know, didn't have to deal with them as much. But I think it works perfectly because it's just like you don't know if he's going to snap. You don't know, like, what he's thinking. And just like when you actually get to first see him and you see his face and he's like embroiled in black, it's like a metaphor of like, he's so far gone, essentially, if that makes sense. The use of shadows in the movie works really, really well.
The documentary that you watched, Zach, does it talk about Brando not wanting to be a part of this?
Oh yeah, like he threatened like it was always going to be Marlon Brando. Harvey Keitel was originally supposed to play Martin Sheen's character, and then I think originally for Kurtz Al Pacino was going to do it. Jack Nicholson was going to do it, which would kind of been cool. Just all these different actors, and you know, Coppola said, "Look, we'll pay you $1 million up front, all this and that." He threatened to walk out because the film was so far behind, and keep the $1 million advance. He didn't read the script. He didn't read the book. He was fully unprepared.
Isn't this the movie where he sat there and had the fucking cards off the side of the screen, reading off cards where what his lines
that was
were?
That was in The Godfather. He did that on The Godfather. But you know, Brando at this point in his career, you got to remember also, you know, he just won the best actor for The Godfather. He had this like huge career resurgence. So he was kind of like a diva, and then like, oh yeah, I can do what I want when I want, all this and that. But regardless of just how difficult he is, he's really good in this movie. I mean, in the like 20 minutes of this movie that he's in, I think that's kind of incredible.
Yeah. You already asked. You were way ahead of me, Zach. But yeah, I was gonna ask. The whole 2 hours and 5 minutes it takes to finally see him and the character. But you already asked the payoff, and I think Jay answered it. But Ed, Zach, how do you guys feel about that? Was it a good payoff for you at the end to finally wait that entire movie to see Kurtz and Brando?
Yeah, I think it was just because I mean I know Brando obviously from other films. I just know what he's capable of as an actor, and so to me, when you finally get to that, and him just talking about all the different stories about war and just life and everything, and it's a great performance. And I think the beauty of it is like he knows it's his death is coming, and it's just a matter of when and where, or who's gonna pull the trigger. What about you, Ed?
I can't say it better myself, man. That's really good. Yeah. End of conflict. Yeah. Zach, you took it.
So
You have a young Harrison Ford in this movie. You have a lot of young actors that are getting ready to just assert their dominance, and then you have who, to me, if you take Brando out of the situation, Robert Duvall as Kilgore, completely just.
Well, he had 15 minutes of screen time. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Best Supporting Actor.
I didn't realize that he was in How to Kill a Mockingbird as Boo Radley.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
One of his first big roles.
Movie, I think. Yeah.
I was just like, what the hell? I didn't know he acted that far back, but dude's 93. So it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he doesn't.
Mockingbird was only like 10 years before this. So it was in the 60s.
Well, 62 to 79, 17 years. But I'm just like, dang, dude. Like, yeah, it's still crazy, You
know, a scene. Obviously, this movie is very serious and very dark. But there's one scene I don't know why. Like the second, it makes me laugh. Is like after they shoot on the boat and Chef rescues the puppy and they fight over the puppy. She's give me that dog.
Which they're legit pulling and yanking on the puppy. So.
And Coppola said, that was just like sound effects. They were real gentle with the puppy, so they weren't. It just it was acting. But like when Chef, when the other guy takes the puppy from Chef is like, you want some fucking mangoes with that? Like it always cracks me up. I don't know why. It's just like a humor in the dark situation.
We didn't even talk about Dennis Hopper.
Oh, he just shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
got all kinds of wicked shit.
He's the photojournalist or the photo analyst.
Yeah. Movie, and that's his name. He doesn't even have a name. They just call him the photojournalist.
And you forget how good Dennis Hopper is until you watch movies like Texas Chainsaw 2 or Speed, and then
Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. And then you see him in movies like this. It's like, man, that's just a name that I feel like a lot of people just forget about. Like Dennis Hopper can go, man. He's Jay. Well, I know you probably said that to be funny, but he's one of the best parts in Super Mario Brothers.
He is. Yeah. I liked him in Speed.
No, he was ruthless in Speed. Yeah.
I like this character. Easy Rider.
Yeah,
he's an Easy Rider as well.
It was him and Peter Fonda.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I found his character because he was talking to Martin Sheen's character a lot, and basically what he was doing was spouting what Brando was saying, but in his own perspective.
Yeah.
Because even he was starting to see the truth of the matter. Like, this is what the war is all about, man. It's like this, man. And so.
Oh, Johnny Cool Hand. He was in Cool Hand Luke too. Good movie.
Yeah, such a good movie. But we can get ready to. We all kind of talked about the ending and Brando, of course, the big conversation part. Was this movie poking fingers? You guys can let us know your favorite scene, star rating. If you haven't seen Apocalypse Now, is this your first time watch? Let us know on all the social media hands right there. Or if you're listening to us out in the audio land of this podcast, it's facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Instagram / the Cinema Movie Podcast, or email us at cinemen921@gmail.com. Ed, we can start with you. Do you have a favorite scene?
I forget the character, but talking about when they were all in the dark and he's got just like a match or a lighter or whatever to his face. Talking about it was a good monologue. I know that for sure. Damn it. I don't remember.
Are you talking about the one where? Are you talking about the bridge where they talk about they get to the bridge and like it gets destroyed every night? It looks like it kind of looks like No Man's Land in the bunkers and everything. That scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's asking like, who's your commander officer?
Yeah. That was, I thought, good speech. I mean, honestly, one that a lot of people will probably go, and one of the most recognized lines is, the napalm in the morning, of course. So I'd go with those two.
I thought Ed was gonna like the scene where they bring Miss
the Playmate.
Yeah. And the guys act like complete animals trying to tear down the helicopter.
See, that's what I was about to say. That's what, I actually find that scene quite funny because it just goes to show they see a woman and they all go apeshit crazy. But one scene I had a problem with was Homeboy brushing his teeth using that cup and spitting in that cup that was for everybody.
Oh. That's the detailed stuff right there.
I was like, oh, hell no. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we'll focus in on you now. Do you have a scene that you thought was pretty good?
I like their meetup at the end. Marlon Brando's and Martin Sheen's meetup. It's perfectly done. Hidden in the shadows is this guy that's supposed to be ruthless and everything, and he just hides in the shadows, and he talks very, very calmly, That's to me, that because being a wrestling fan, that's always what made certain wrestlers more dangerous, was that they didn't have to scream their promo. They just sit there and talk, and you're like, holy shit, dude, I'm scared. And that's the same feeling with that.
It's a more powerful way to come across because the calmer person, there's something behind there that they know once they're enraged, it goes off. Because, I mean, you look at someone like The Undertaker, and when The Undertaker got loud, it was just like, oh, shit. But everybody understood, like Macho Man Randy Savage was always, just bigger, I mean, same, yeah.
I would have to say, yeah, the ending scene where you finally get to meet Brando. I also did appreciate the scene where they're playing the music through the helicopters because the Colonel knows that like
the Flight of the Valkyries.
Yeah, that sends fear. And then you look at it like, man, that's just a kind of also a dark scene because it looks like it's maybe like a school or there's a bunch of little kids going throughout there too. So the dark scene. But yeah, I like the meetup at the end. And
funny
I like
thing.
I like the conversation that Dennis Hopper brings with Martin Sheen's character.
Funny thing on your bring up, an uncle of mine, basically, he went in for like 30 plus years. And he actually got to full bird colonel, as they call it, colonel. He used to play "I Want to Be Sedated" by the Ramones. Thank you. When he was going on the helicopter, getting dropped off to his battle points, is what he called.
I bet they were sedated.
Well, and when we were in the Gulf War and everything, and even recently in the Gulf War when we were doing the War on Terror. We'd sit there and blast Metallica at him, and it was supposed to drive him nuts. And I'm just sitting there thinking, hell, play any Metallica albums, I'll have fun. Like, yeah, but those people, it's like torture.
It's a whole different thing because I've heard Justin Bieber's used for torture. I've heard Britney Spears is used for torture. I've heard God dang it, some rap songs are used for torture as well because they can't stand the way it's just done, I guess. Like some cultures out there just hate it. I'm just like, Zach, the things we come up with.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, echoing pretty much what all you guys said. The Brando stuff is phenomenal. I think that's why you watch this movie essentially. I really like the puppy scene where they, he has Lance has the puppy like in his jacket when they go like to the No Man Lands area. And honestly, the opening scene with Willard in the hotel room, just like I like the symbolism of like the ceiling fan going around. It's like the sound of the choppers, and him just like playing that over and over in his mind. And fun fact is that when he actually like punches the mirror, he actually like cut his hand, like how Leo did in Django Unchained. So that was like his real blood and everything. So just like a guy that's already like tiptoeing on the edge, and then like this mission brings him back a little bit, but he slowly goes back into that hellish realm that they found him in. So
Star rating, Ed?
I'm gonna go with a 4. I agree. It could have been almost an hour less from what the director's cut is for sure, but the theatrical cut, I'd say 30 minutes, 45 could have been taken off, and it would have been great. Like, I mean, it might have won some of those other awards, but
the theatrical out of all of them is probably the best version of it, to be honest.
Yeah. So it's my take. That's all.
The reason I kind of didn't like the opening with Martin Sheen, where he's kind of like going balls crazy, is it reminded me of the opening of Major Payne. And I think that they use that parody. Major Payne's like sitting through the same like little hotel room. It's like, it's been about 14 days since I killed me a man. And that's all I kept thinking about with the beginning of Apocalypse Now was Major Payne.
I haven't seen that, so
You've never seen Major Payne?
What?
No, I haven't. No.
What
Hilarious
rock have you
movie.
been living under?
It's probably not
Bro.
going to be a movie for me. So
Have you seen Cadet Kelly?
That's where
I
we
have
are, Ed.
actually. Yeah.
God,
no.
Of course he's seen Cadet Kelly.
God damn it. Your homework for this week
Major Payne
is Major fucking Pain, sir. And you better tell me a story that he tells that boy. I want to hear about it.
Yeah,
Actually,
I'm probably
I think
not going to
there's
do
2
that.
stories. Dude,
I
probably
give the
not
movie
gonna
a
do that, to be
3.
honest.
man. I swear you will
We'll
love
go.
Major Pain, bro.
Jay, what do
I
I
give the movie a 3.
A 3?
Yeah.
I think with Apocalypse Now, I'll give it a 4.5. Yeah, I like a lot of stuff about it. The only thing I did have issues with, and why I don't call it perfect or 5 for me, is just the pacing. But 4 out of 5 for me. Zach?
Same thing, 4.5. Just the pacing of the movie. So another
Alright, guys.
Memorial Day episode in the books.
Another Memorial Day weekend, but next week we come in strong. We kick off June with 51st Dates, 20th anniversary conversation next week. Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore. Go check it out. It's going to be a fun watch, hopefully a little fun conversation before we dig into our 300th episode in 2 weeks, live Saturday, June 8th, 7 p.m., Stockyard City, Oklahoma City. Come watch 300 as we have a screening and we can celebrate all together. But yeah, next week, 51st Date. So,
And it is streaming on Hulu.
51st Dates?
Yep.
Nice. So, that being said, guys, any final comments on Apocalypse Now before we get to June?
Nope.
All right.
Watch Major Pain.
Should be fun episode next week. 51st Dates on another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. You guys have a good week. Have a good Memorial Day tomorrow, and we'll talk to you guys next week on another new episode.
Later.